Hello, everyone. Welcome to our panel. My name is Helen Oakley. I'm one of the advisory board members for CyberX. I'm also a co-founder of Leading Cyber Ladies Toronto. And today I have an amazing panel of Leading Cyber Ladies Committee, a global committee, to talk about topic. So often in the past, and right now it's now more than ever, we have these questions. Where do I fit in cybersecurity field? How do I get in? Is it the right time? So today, I would like to introduce our panelists, and I'll call them out one by one. Keren, I have been listening to your talks since, I don't know, I love your TED Talk, and you had so many great ideas. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you, CyberX, for hosting the Leading Cyber Ladies panel today. I'm excited to be speaking to you from sunny Tel Aviv. I'm Keren Elazari. I am the founder of B-Sides Tel Aviv, which is Israel's largest hacker community, and also one of the founders, together with my fellows Reut and Hila, who are also on this panel, for Leading Cyber Ladies Israel. I'm a security researcher. I'm a friendly hacker. I'm also an author of the Women in Tech book. Get it now if you can, and bookstores where available. And I'm a passionate advocate for friendly hackers and for women in the cybersecurity industry. Thank you, Helen.
Thanks, Keren. Hila, you have tremendous experience in working in cybersecurity for Fortune companies. Introduce, please, yourself.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you, siberXchange, for hosting us. So my name is Hila Meller. I'm based out of Milan, Italy, and I've been in the cyberspace for 20+ years. And I currently work for BT, British Telecom, as vice president, and I lead the cybersecurity unit covering Europe. I founded the Leading Cyber Ladies together with Keren about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been great pleasure to see how the whole idea started picking up and started gaining like global coverage, adding many new members to this initiative. So thank you again for hosting us, and I'm looking forward to having this very interesting discussion today.
Thank you, Hila. Ruth, you're next. You're a freelancer, and it feels like the whole world is in front of your steps. You're also executive for B-Sides Tel Aviv. Please tell us more about yourself.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, so my name is Reut Menashe. I'm based also in Tel Aviv, Israel. The last 5 years, I've been part of the amazing initiative B-Sides Tel Aviv and Leading Cyber Ladies. This is what I'm doing for the community. And as for my day and night job as well, I'm currently building my incident response services consultancy firm. The name is Tetrisponse. I'm an incident response expert. This is what I love to do. And I will be happy to share more in this panel about my day-to-day work.
Thank you, Ruth. Sivan, you're next. Sivan, you're a professor. And you have been serving for Israel Defense, and you've been dismissed honorably as a captain. Sivan, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Helen, and thank you, CyberXchange, for hosting us today. I'm here in New York City. I am Director of Solution Architecture at Perimeter 81. I'm teaching cybersecurity at Yeshiva University, and I'm the founder of Cyber Ladies New York City. And I started my career in the Israeli Defense Forces. I served for 10 years as a cybersecurity officer. In my last role, I was the CISO of the Research and Analysis Division. And I would love to share more here during this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sivan. And Neetika, I work with you here in Toronto. We together co-founding Leading Cyber Ladies here, and you do amazing and tremendous job securing educational software for kids. Please introduce yourself a little bit more. What do you do?
Absolutely. Thank you, Helen. Hi, everybody. I'm Neetika Bhargava. I'm based out of Toronto, as Helen said, and then I'm also a co-founder for Leading Cyber Ladies Toronto chapter. And this is something that gives Helen and I immense pleasure. It is something that we give back to the community. wanted more and more people to join cybersecurity. And in my day job, I'm a cybersecurity manager at Prodigy Education. It's one of the fastest growing startups in North America. And then it helps kids learn math, love math, and then moving forward, we're going to have more and more subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Neetika. So welcome, Leading Cyber Ladies Global Committee. I can't wait to start. So I will display a question so everyone who is joining online, they can see what we're talking about. And we'll just engage in a candid discussions with my dear friends and our panelists. So my first question is, please share your experience. What did something change for you in this new normal, and where do you fit in, right? And also mention if you see any benefits that we have right now. I'll start with Neetika, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a cybersecurity manager at Prodigy Education, I'm responsible for executing and implementing the cybersecurity strategies at Prodigy Education. As you all know, kids' data online is one of the most important topics in parents' minds and teachers' minds. So we take security super seriously at Prodigy Education. And with that, with also like increase in the EdTech tools in terms of like COVID with schools closing. So we have seen a lot of demand of Prodigy all across the world. So that with that, the security of data becomes more and more important. And in this age where I fit in is like helping the business grow in the COVID world and making security as an enabler. That's my goal for my organization.
Thanks, Neetika. And let's shift to freelancer role. Reut, what is it on your side?
Yeah, so it's true. I'm already freelance in the past 8 years. I was going to the customer sites, office on day-to-day occasions. But since the pandemic has started, it's true, I stopped going to offices like all of us. So I need to learn how to adjust my services and help my customers respond to any incident that happens to them, and not being with them in the same office, in the same perimeter. I don't know if you know, but instant response is something that relates a little bit to the psychology of the customers, because they're getting hit, they're getting very intense time when they're having the incident. So they need a lot of help. And I learned that doing this remotely, it's something that you need to adjust into. So it's something that I learned how to do. And from day to day, I'm learning more and more. And I think as all of us learning in this new normal, and it goes pretty well. It's something that it's sure can be done remotely.
Thanks, Reut. I would like to jump in Europe. Hila, in Italy. So Italy has been hit quite drastically, right, at some point. And please share your experience. How do you feel in this new normal in your role?
Yeah, great. Thank you for the question, Helen. So look, in my job, I lead a team of several hundreds of security experts in multiple European locations in all the main European countries. And we work with the largest organizations, multinational organizations, and we basically help them address those cyber challenges. And an interesting thing that happened to us during the COVID crisis, as many of us moved to working from home, and you know, we ended up even moving our stock facilities to working remotely from home. We still had a few teams that had to work on site, on customer premises. I'm talking mostly about engagements in the defense field, or organizations that are critical national infrastructures, organizations that were really in the heart of the whole COVID situation. And so I had to deal with a situation in which I had people in my team that were really taking the risk and going above and beyond to go to on-site locations to support customers in those very difficult times. And I have to tell you that what surprised me is the amount of appreciation and that we got from those customers. The amount of thank you letters and gratitude that was visible after that was really encouraging and motivating. So that was like a nice experience or a nice angle when you think about the amount of help that was provided and then the gratitude that was received from the market for the extra that we've done.
So it really feels like we're all in this together, right? That's what I feel from your experience in this new normal. Let's fly to New York now. Sivan, please share what benefits do we see from this?
So I think that during these crazy times, I've had the opportunity to work with different customers, mainly to implement the Pyramid 81 solution in order to help companies to work remotely and connect securely to their on-prem or cloud resources. I think that was the first time since I retired from the Army that I actually felt that I have a mission. I have a mission to help companies and individuals to win the COVID-19 war. And it's something that I think many companies actually practice their business continuity plan for the first time during the pandemic. And it was a challenge experience for them and for me as a cybersecurity expert. I'm sure that everyone had this feeling that, what should we do now? What's the first step? What's the first solution to implement when our employees are working remotely? So I think that experience can teach us a lot about how to deal with uncertainty, how to respond in real time to this dynamic environment. And I also think it's a great opportunity for new experts to join the industry and also for companies to rethink about their business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan, and how they make the adjustments so they won't need to deal to be surprised in the next crisis. And I'm always saying, and I think it's also related to incident response, that we always need to think what are the lessons we can learn and how we can improve ourselves in the next for the next crisis, and kind of to make sure we're always ready, even though it's a hard thing to say when you work in cybersecurity.
That's a great point. And Sivan, I want to pick your brain a little bit more in maybe a few minutes on the time to start, right? Is it the right time? So hold that thought. We're going to talk more about that. I want to turn to Keren right now. Keren, as a co-founder of Leading Cyber Ladies and a researcher, and you talk to so many people and you talk about your research, please share your experience and what do you think actually where Leading Cyber Ladies stand in this new normal from that perspective?
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, so for me, this new normal has been challenging, as it has for many of us, but it's also created opportunities. So, for example, this opportunity, this panel, where we're bringing all of these different perspectives together, during the pandemic was the first time that we did the first ever event for cyber ladies from all over the world together. And in just the past weekend, I participated in DEF CON and Black Hat virtually. And I think that through virtual events, we can actually connect more people to our industry. And it is through communities like siberX and siberXchange, and through this that we can actually use this crisis to learn about other people's experiences and to help grow our knowledge and our empathy towards what other people are experiencing all over the world. So I find it very valuable during this time to stay connected. For me personally, in terms of my job, Tel Aviv University has not been teaching on campus for the past few months. Tel Aviv University also had to cancel, unfortunately, our annual Cyber Week event, where we usually also host some Cyber Ladies activities. But I'm very glad and proud that we were able to host B-Sides Tel Aviv in our hybrid format with our logo of a COVID mask, like I showed you. So besides Tel Aviv, when we usually hold it at Tel Aviv University, we have about 1,000 or 1,200 participants. When we held it online, we saw more than 4,000 participants. So actually, this new normal is allowing us to expand the boundaries of the conversation. And people that wouldn't otherwise participate because they don't feel maybe comfortable or they don't have a hacker or security event that they can attend, now they can do that from the comfort of their own home. So it's a fantastic opportunity for this industry to grow. And on the professional side, I see that the demand for security professionals and for knowledge and for ideas and research is only growing, as it's created so many opportunities for criminals. During the pandemic, criminals were not taking a break. You know, they were evolving their business models and coming up with ways to make money out of government relief grants, for example. So hackers are now working very hard. Friendly hackers and security researchers need to connect and work just as hard to continue protecting the people that rely on us.
Friendly hackers, hold that thought as well. Yeah, I thank you so much for that insight. And I want to go back to Sivan for the next question. You know, you mentioned that it's a good time to start a new job, new role. Please, maybe elaborate a little bit more. What does it mean? Is it really right time to break into the security market?
Well, yeah, so I think that during the last year, we used to mention the fact that by 2021, there will be 3.5 million open positions in cybersecurity. But I think that the pandemic made this, I don't know if this number is relevant anymore. I think we're going to need even more security experts. And the fact that we are working remotely and that more than 75% of the US workforce now are working remotely, it increased the risks in terms of cybersecurity, and it means that we will need more and more experts. And when I'm saying experts, I think mainly entry-level positions like SOC analysts and threat intelligence analysts. I see now from many of the customers that I'm working with that they never thought you had an independent security operations center, for example, but now because of this situation and because they want to monitor the activity of their users, they are thinking to actually build their own security operations centers. And we see many more new industries that considering security in a very serious way. So I think it's a great opportunity in terms of the demand and the risks that we see. But another thing that I wanted to tell you and mention here that I teach in Yeshiva University. And last semester I had a student who is 68 years old. And he just finished and graduated from the master, he did his master in cybersecurity. And he told me something like, I was waiting for cybersecurity to be invented for my whole life. And, you know, for him, going to interviews and getting a job in a small startup, for example, or, you know, in entry-level job, it's really hard. But I think that the fact that we are now working remotely, it's kind of, I don't think there are boundaries of age anymore. I don't think, we're talking about diversity, right? So it's not only for women, it's also for, in terms of age. So those people who are worried about interviews and about how they will adjust themselves to a young company environment or things like that, I think that when we work remotely and everything is virtual, so they should not worry anymore. I think they should apply and they should not be afraid of those boundaries. I don't consider it as boundaries, but I think in terms of that, it's also a good thing that happened. And I hope to see more women in the industry, older people in the industry. And I really think, you know, we're there. There's no place anymore for I mean, I don't think there are any limits. I think cybersecurity is a relevant profession for everyone who is passionate enough to learn and to work hard.
Thank you, Sivan. And absolutely, diversity is not just gender, it's everything, all aspects of diversity, different industries even, right? I want to turn to Reut, actually. I want to turn to Reut as a freelancer, as consultant. Where do you see opportunity? Is it a good time to start a job as self-employed, let's say, versus being hired for a company? What is your opinion on that?
Yeah. Okay. So, regardless of the current situation, choosing what you like to do, it's a matter of, it's very individual. So not everyone is suitable to be a freelancer. Not everyone is suitable to be employed by a big corporate. It really depends what do you feel to be like and what do you want to do. So first you need to ask yourself these questions. I feel more, let's say, adrenaline when I do incident response. So I choose to open my firm that's selling incident response services because I love it, and this is something that I want to do. This era, it's an opportunity. We also in incident response, I'm always saying, a change is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to do new things. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to elevate your skills and yourself. It's time of thinking. It's time of change. The world is changing. This is all very common sentence and knowing things, but take this into yourself and reflect what you want to do in this new era when everything is going more online, more digital than ever was. It's going to be much more online. As Keren mentioned, hackers are also changing their business model and adapting to the new normal. So there is plenty of expertise and knowledge to gain. You can do it from home. You just need the motivation and the passion. And if you think there is not enough, you can always approach to experts and to mentors. And I would love to help any person who needs a little push to start his career in InfoSec and cyber.
I can definitely agree with that, and good point on working from home. Actually, I think it gives bigger opportunities for actually getting a job that you wouldn't get before because it's in a remote area or you're not ready to move or so. And I want to turn to Hila right now to expand a little bit on that idea. And also, we get a lot of questions, do I need to get certification or how do I prepare myself for this new role? So do you have any insight on that, Hila?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, we touched about, is there now a demand for cyber experts? Are we on the lookout for new talent? And definitely there is a need, right? We know about the skill gap, the global skill gap. And if you look at recent Interpol reports, there's a report that was issued by Interpol around a week ago, and they talk specifically about the increase in the amount of cybercrime in the period of COVID and how, just as Keren explained earlier, how hackers and cyber criminals adjusted their ways of working and pretty much took advantage of the COVID situation. And they specifically talk about an increase in phishing attempts, in fraud attempts, in malware, all related to COVID. So we are in an interesting time in which, yes, we do need more talent, but I can tell you as a hiring manager that hiring has become more complicated, okay, on the same time. And specifically for people that are interested in joining the cyber work, and we talked about, it's pretty easy, you can work from home. Well, one thing that I learned, one of my lessons learned, is actually that not everybody has at home a suitable workspace. that they can use. And all of us come from the western part of the world, so we live in certain conditions. It's not the same all over the world, right? And there are some areas where you have large families working together, living together, and not necessarily people will have the right space to work and have even a suitable table or a desk that they can put their laptop on. So really, as a hiring manager, I can tell you that it has been challenging now to hire new employees. I can talk about, for example, we've seen some companies that are kind of slowing down their hiring. They're dealing with some very complicated financial situation, so they won't hire as much as they used to before. Or I've seen in a few occasions candidates that just given the current situation, they preferred not taking the risk of changing workplaces, and they just preferred staying where they are because it felt safer than in a brand new place. Another perspective that I can share with you as a hiring manager is that hiring where your employees are fully, and onboarding when all of your employees are fully working remote is challenging, right? Because especially in the onboarding time, you need this kind of interpersonal interaction, and being together in the same space really helps. So onboarding, even providing equipment when everybody's working remotely is a new challenge that we deal with. So definitely, right, just to wrap up everything that I said, yes, definitely we need more talent, and it's great time to join. On the same time, we need to be aware that there are some challenges around hiring and onboarding and new employees at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you, Hila. Hiring is definitely a challenge, and that I want to get back to you in a few moments, maybe. I want to go back to Keren, actually. She mentioned friendly hackers. I want to get your perspective. What do you mean friendly hackers, and what role do they play right now in our new normal? Please, Keren.
A fantastic question, because friendly hackers are my top topic that I enjoy speaking about. I am in love with friendly hackers. So my point of view has always been that our world needs hackers that help us evolve, that help us find security vulnerabilities, that help us fix issues. And in fact, not all hackers are bad. I grew up as a hacker right here in Tel Aviv. And a lot of people in the security industry call themselves hackers. So I like to use this term of friendly hackers. I was inspired by the idea of friendly bacteria, that actually in our bodies, there are hundreds of millions of trillions of friendly bacteria that help us, that are part of our immune system. That's why in 2014, when I was invited to speak at TED, by the way, it was in Vancouver, Canada, so I like Canada. Thank you for hosting me. TED asked me to share a speech, and I chose the perspective that hackers can be the immune system of the information age. Now, I said that 6 years ago. Right now, it's becoming more and more of a reality. How? A few ways. One is through bug bounty programs or vulnerability disclosure programs. These are programs that allow companies as big and as small, all types of companies, even organizations like the United States Department of Defense, the Pentagon, to actively work with friendly hackers, independent hackers from all over the world that find something and they discover it and they tell them about it, a bug, a vulnerability, an issue. And there's actually been there's hundreds of thousands of friendly hackers out there that participate in bug bounty programs. During the pandemic, in the month of March, which was kind of like the height of the pandemic in many places in Western Europe and the US, the company BugCrowd, that has one of the popular bug bounty platforms, reported their highest ever volume of reports. So friendly hackers were stuck at home, and they were using that time to actually uncover vulnerabilities, acting as that immune system. Other ways that friendly hackers are helping, for example, the CTI League, the Counter Threat Intelligence League. This was a voluntary organization. It was started in the middle of the pandemic. Friendly hackers from all over the world coming together to help healthcare institutions and healthcare providers that were being targeted by criminals. So these friendly hackers from all over the world, Israel, the US, North America, Canada, Europe, all over the world, have helped track down and stop criminal campaigns that are targeting healthcare providers. So these are just two ways of how friendly hackers help. For me, it's also by teaching us. So during this weekend, I participated in the DEF CON and Black Hat. I heard so many awesome presentations. I learned from people about new types of vulnerabilities in Zoom that I didn't know about. You think you know everything about Zoom? No, there's more. I learned about all kinds of vulnerabilities in online multiplayer games. And these are tools that we all use, right? So to go back to the points that Hila and Sivan mentioned earlier, yes, everybody can work from home now, but everybody also has to be the CTO of their own home, right? You have to set up all of the services, the webcams, the Zoom, the other collaboration tools. You have to secure them for yourself. There's no technology department that's going to come in and do that for you. So I think that might be a barrier or a challenge for some people to join our industry right now. And like Hila said, not everybody has the privilege of having a workspace at home that's appropriate. So I think we need to be able to help people and onboard them in new ways into this new digital way of life and way of working. I will end my response just with a recommendation for another book, if I may. It's a fantastic book. It's called The Year Without Pants. The Year Without Pants. So it was written about the experience of working from home and working for a completely digital distributed company where there's no office and nobody comes to the office. It was written 7 years ago, but I think it still has some amazing lessons for the reality right now. So if you're working from home and you think it's not for me, it's not for my company, what else is out there? I recommend you read this book. It really showcases the benefits and the disadvantages of working from home. The Year Without Pants.
It's like Back into the Future movie, right? You read the book from the back in history, but it was about the future, but we're now in this future, and it's definitely interesting to go back and read. But don't go away, Keren. Yes. So yes, there is a huge opportunity for friendly hackers or hackers like in bug bounty and so on. But maybe a few points how to get there, how to start. Like if I've never been in this, is there a way or maybe a hint for our audience?
Absolutely, yes. So the phenomenal reality right now is that there is a lot of bug bounty hunters that are teaching other people how to get started with bug bounty hunting. And they're not just doing it on a blog or a forum or on Twitter, they're live streaming. So they're on YouTube Live or on Twitch and they're streaming their hunting live. So one such hacker is called Stock. It's O with an umlaut because he's Swedish. So S-T-O with umlaut K. Just look up Stock the hacker, S-T-O-K. He is actually live streaming his hacking and he's always sharing knowledge. There's another hacker that does some things like that. His name is Nahamsec, N-A-H-A-M-S-E-C. I hope I got that right. Both of them work a lot with BugCrowd and with HackerOne. HackerOne and BugCrowd are the two primary platforms for bug bounty hunting. If you feel like this might be for you, check out both of these companies and websites. They have a lot of information. There are forums, there are online groups. Twitter is a fantastic source of information, just generally in cybersecurity and specifically for bug bounty hunting. It might be for you. It doesn't have to be a full-time job. A lot of hackers do it as part of whatever else they're doing because they believe in this idea of being the immune system, or they can use the extra cash, or maybe they get a cool T-shirt for doing it. Everybody has different motivations, but the reality is that it's working as a model, and it's helping companies find vulnerabilities that they didn't know about in products that are already live out there on the internet. And the Department of Defense has said in their reports that Hack the Pentagon, which is the bug bounty program for the Pentagon, has been so cost efficient, but also eye-opening for them, because it really woke them up to a reality that friendly hackers can find things. And if the friendly hackers can find things, the bad guys have already found them, right? So we really need to work with those friendly hackers.
Yeah, that's definitely.
All right.
Yeah, thanks. And now let's go back to our question about, okay. Let's go back to our question about the hiring management. So I want to hold Hila for a little bit and get Neetika, actually. Neetika, you recently told me you've been hiring a whole bunch of people to your company. Now, can you please share your experience? And what would you recommend to people who are looking for a job right now as a hiring manager in this new normal?
absolutely. Thank you, Helen. So yes, as Hila has alluded, hiring remotely, like when we're working full-time, is hard. So basically you have to be on the Zoom for all the interviews. You don't meet the potential hires in person just to understand them better. So it's, as a hiring manager, it just gets harder and harder to judge a person on Zoom. And then when you do hire them, so onboarding is a whole different ballgame right now. Back in the day, you go to a meeting room, on the whiteboard, you draw everything, you explain everything, but now it's all Zoom. So I would recommend, like, so when you do onboard people, take advantage of all the draw.io lucid chart, and then help your team understand how your organization is set up, how systems are set up, like make them do your best in making them feel part of the organization, because I think that's the hardest part, because it's very hard for them to feel the culture of the organization if they had started remotely. But on the other side, what's the good thing is, because a lot of people have stopped hiring, and if your company is hiring, so I would definitely say that you will get one of the best resumes ever. So if you're looking for someone, and then if you're thinking of hiring somebody in a quarter or two, I would say hire them now, because you would get the best talent out there, because there are people who are looking for jobs, and in the audience as well. So if you're looking for a job right now, look for the industries that are thriving in this pandemic, like education technology as one, the communication tools, the banking, because everything is going remote. So security is becoming more important than ever. So target your search according to what's thriving in the pandemic, and then apply for the jobs. So, and as hiring managers, don't lose hope. Yes, it's hard, but it's all rewarding, because you will get the best people on your team who are so motivated to join a company in the pandemic.
Thanks, Neetika. And I'm hearing the challenge from you and from Hila, and it's almost like we need a new innovative solution for hiring, because we are in this new normal and we are still following the old processes, and they don't always work. And in fact, if they didn't work well in the past, they definitely not working so well right now. And I want to ask, maybe go back to Hila, and then Sivan jump in also. How can we improve? You know, we see several gaps. Maybe you can expand on the gaps when HR department, for example, gets the filters the resume, and then who actually come in, because we have so many unfilled jobs and we still have so many people looking for jobs. So what is your perspective on this, and what can we advise to hiring managers and to those who looking for a job?
Yeah, so let me take that. So just to recap on the points that I mentioned earlier, right, and some of the challenges that we've seen on hiring, about maybe in some situations lack of appetite to hire at the moment, or candidates that might be more aware of taking risk and hesitate to change jobs. Also the whole hiring and onboarding challenges of doing it all remotely, just like Neetika explained earlier. And how to make, and that was a very valid point that Neetika mentioned earlier, how to make new hires feel part of a team, right? Because they join a new team and they've never seen the team, probably never met the manager face to face. So how can you make them feel part of a team? So one of the things that we started doing is weekly happy hours, just, you know, easy time, social hour, all the employees, all the team members all together. Yes, drinking was involved, especially on my case, but it breaks the ice, and you get like this kind of interpersonal connection with your peers and your manager, and also, you know, in the situation we were really under very serious lockdown, having this kind of weekly meeting that was an easy meeting, a nice meeting, that you also added some sense of humor to it, really helped us deal with the overall situation, because sense of humor also helps a lot when you deal with difficult conditions. Another thing that I would like to suggest to hiring managers on our panel today is to be aware and be sensitive to the conditions that people might have at home. And I'll give you myself as an example, okay? I have a 3-year-old boy at home. It's a challenge, right? To be a mother, take care of a small child who's not fully autonomous at the moment, and you want to keep him as much as possible away from TV, tablet, Fortnite, all those kind of things. And so be aware, right? And you know, some of your employees will be in similar conditions or will have other challenges at home. Just be aware of that and allow them to have the right level of flexibility, because you don't want to lose talent just because you were not able to allow them with the right level of flexibility, not being aware and sensitive enough for their family situation at home. So, yeah, so that's it from my side.
Thanks, Hila. And Sivan, in your experience, you know, maybe elaborate more on a hiring manager perspective. How can we help actually connect the hiring managers and candidates and help them in this new normal find the jobs and according to their skills?
Yeah, so I want to mention that during the pandemic, Cyber Ladies New York City ran the first mentorship program in the city in partnership with Full Stack Academy and Yeshiva University. And we were looking for mentors to help the graduated students to find a new job during this uncertain time. And it is a challenge, we understand that. And I think that what we understood the most, and it really related to what Hila mentioned, it's not a regular time. We have many challenges, personal challenges, but also creating these interpersonal relationships during this time and in virtual conditions, it's hard. So as much as you can highlight as a candidate your soft skills during the interview process, I think it will bring something unique to the conversations. And I think that's what hiring managers remember the most. I think, you know, bring your personality. It's a very important thing, even though it's hard now. Another thing, and that's more a professional advice, and we were helping our mentees with that as well, is to build your presence in the social media. Because I think today, in these conditions, hiring managers look in the social media, and I think that each one of us had to have his profile, and this profile should represent ourselves in the best way we can. And it also shows what you're interested in, and not only your experience, but I think, you know, sometimes it just show you can express how much you're passionate about cybersecurity and things like that. So I think building your social media profile, that's important. Building a career strategy. What are you looking for? Is this job is your dream job? Is that only an entry-level job? What's your path? What's the final destination? I really believe in a career strategy. And another advice, maybe it's a little bit more practical, but I do think that when you prepare to an interview in cybersecurity, you have to be ready with an article that you read, with a tabletop exercise that you're able to do during this interview, and sometimes even with a 30, 60, 90-day plan. That's something that a lot of managers are asking right now, and it's becoming a basic part of the hiring process. So I think candidates should be aware of all those requirements and be ready and prepared for any interview. It's tough. It's harder than ever now, but as long as you're ready, as long as you can show the world your personality via those different digital social media platforms or virtual video conference platforms. So, and even practice a Zoom interview with a friend. That can help. I think that also what helped some of our mentees to find their first job. And I can tell you about three that just during the last 2 weeks, 3 students that sent me an email, that a thank you email for the mentorship program as they found their first job. And it's really exciting for them and for sure for us. And we're gonna continue hopefully with another program at the beginning of October. So if anyone who hear us now wants to join, you're more than welcome to join as mentors and mentees. And again, because it's, you know, the students are New York City based, but as long as it's the same time zone, everyone can join. So.
Thank you, Sivan. And you mentioned actually several good points. I hope everybody is having their notepad and writing them down, or writing them in other notepad on the laptop or wherever. The flexibility, right, like Hila mentioned, also is important for managers to provide flexibility, and I see a lot of companies do that. I also think, you know, especially in big organizations or maybe even medium-sized, there is a gap between what we provide out there in job description and what actually people do, right? If you're looking for entry position, like you mentioned, there's a lot of entry position, but if entry position actually mentions that it's required to have CISSP, you know, this is just impossible. You need to have like several years of experience in cybersecurity field. So this, we as a hiring managers, we also need to work with HR and other departments to bridge that gap and make sure that we are being realistic also with our candidates, not just expecting them to apply when they see that they might not fit, right, and just don't apply. Excellent points, ladies. I want to turn to our last question. And before I get to you, I want to also engage our audience. And we have a team here in CyberX who will help read us some comments and questions. You know, we talk about building professional network. And now in this new normal, when we don't just bump into somebody in a hallway or at the conference or anywhere else, right? It's becoming more difficult. And even I was also attending Black Hat with Keren there, and you know, this whole new normal of how we network is mind-blowing, and I'm sure that a lot of people are struggling with that because it's completely new. So I would like to hear your ideas from audience. What do you think? How should we network, build our professional network right now? And I'll turn to Keren. Keren, please provide ideas. What do you think about that?
Thanks, Helen. I've always said that networking is a crucial part of the cybersecurity workforce and building your career. That's the reason we started Leading Cyber Ladies in the first place, because we experienced, I remember Hila calling me up, and we experienced that there were a lot of conferences and events, but we never saw a lot of other women like ourselves in those conferences. We never saw them speaking, sharing their perspective. We didn't even see them in the audience that much. So I've always said that networking is actually how we learn the unofficial stuff. You know, you can read all the books, you can do all the online trainings. We still need to learn from each other, from our peers. And through conferences and events, that's learning by diffusion, if you will, where you go and you just hear somebody in the hallway talking about something and you step out and you start this whole conversation. Some people call this hallway con, right? That becomes more interesting than whatever presentation is up there on the stage. So we don't have hallway con right now, and we don't have the brunches or the lunch breaks or the coffee breaks. So we have to build out ways. I really believe that it's more critical now when everybody is at home and isolated. It's crucial not just for our learning, it's also crucial for our emotional well-being, you know, to connect with our colleagues, with our friends, with our peers, to maybe have a beer online together, or a tea, or just a chat, you know, a kiki, as they say, you know, just chatting about things. I've tried to structure these into my life in the past few months to have kind of scheduled check-ins or chats with colleagues, with friends. I even started back a Dungeons and Dragons game, like a tabletop role-playing game with some friends as a way for us to have a chance to connect to each other. I think now is the time for communities like Leading Cyber Ladies, like CyberX and siberXchange, like B-Sides. And if you're not a member of such a community on the regular, think about where you might find people that you want to talk with. Is it Twitter? Is it on, in the past few months, I learned how to use collaboration tools like GitHub. I learned how to find content on Twitch, because a lot of people are streaming themselves, doing things and teaching things on Twitch, including hackers. There's actually quite a lot of hackers and security professionals doing things on twitch.tv. I joined Discord. I joined several different Discord servers for conversations about things I'm interested in. If you're not familiar with these tools and things like GitHub or Twitch and Discord, learn about them. You might find communities that interest you, or you can go back to, Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you find a community that works for you. Leading Cyber Ladies is active on mostly Facebook and LinkedIn, and of course, meetup.com. And I really recommend that you take the chance to think about what's something I want to learn. Where is a person or group of people that are interested in the same thing? It doesn't even have to be directly connected to cybersecurity. I joined the Discord for a puzzle solving group, and the puzzles have cryptography elements in them. So it really reawakened my love for cryptography and solving difficult puzzles. It's not a career move, it's not a work move, it's just a good way for me to expand my network. So I recommend you think about networking in that sense. It's not just how you build your career or your professional network, it's also how you take care of your need to learn and to be inspired and to connect with different people. And I absolutely recommend that if you don't have a group like that or a few groups like that, add them to your life if you can.
Thank you, Keren. That's absolutely wonderful advice. And, I noticed that we have many followers on different social network or connections, right? You have thousands and thousands, but following someone is not enough. If before it was okay and enough because we had all physical network and we physically saw people, right now I also think that it's actually you need to work a little bit more to engage in conversation. And like you mentioned, all these different tools and networks where you can discuss and chat, it's definitely something that everyone should explore and work on that. I want to turn to CyberX team for a moment. Do we have any comments or questions online right now?
Yes, Helen, assuming you can hear me, we do have a couple of questions that have come in, and I will just read them out to you verbatim as we have a good 7 minutes to entertain them. The first question is, I am an IT generalist. I have certain skill sets. I have PMP, I have CISSP, but with the layoffs that are coming out and the opportunities in cybersecurity, I'm finding that I need to specialize my skill set. How do you recommend I go from a generalist to a specialist? What certifications would you put your hat on?
Hey, who wants to jump in, ladies?
Let me say something again from a hiring manager perspective. And I work for a large organization. We're more than 100,000 people. And actually some of the best hirings that I've done were internal people that many of them had networking experience or general IT experience. And we moved them over to security. And I can't remember even one case when it was a failure, when we didn't get the right outcome, when the person didn't fit in. So I'm not familiar exactly with this specific person and his gaps and what he needs to fill, but my experience when I hired such profiles was always positive. So if that helps and if that motivates him to go through this change, then I'm happy already.
Him or her, I should say, Hila, right? It might be a lady, we don't know.
Or them.
It might be somebody who in between, right? Might be them, right?
Yeah.
So we also have to open up to diversity on that aspect. There's all kinds of people that want to join our industry right now. And robots might have some AIs joining our workforce soon.
Fully agree.
Okay.
I would like to say something as well about certificates. I think that certificates are important, but more important is to make sure you actually learn from from studying to those exams. And in my perspective, if you have a specific direction, career path that you want to go and certificate is part of it, that's fine, do that. But I think before we decide about what kind of certificate we want to do, or what kind of exam we want to take, we should think about what is the main goal of the process. Because many times it just takes a lot of time and efforts and money, and not always you need that. It really depends on the role, and it really depends on where do you see yourself in the cybersecurity industry. And I do think it's important. I'm learning all the time, taking online courses. I'm reading a lot. I'm trying to keep up with my skills as much as I can. But I believe that certificate should be part of the process, but not the main goal. That's how I see.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I agree with that. You know, the certificate shouldn't be the end game. And before you choose a certificate, think about cybersecurity. It's a very broad field. If you're a generalist, it's like you're a general doctor. But do you want to be like a brain surgeon? Or do you want to be a psychologist? Or do you want to be a children's doctor, right? There's so many different things in our world of cybersecurity. So I would first try to see, where's your passion? Are you excited about code and vulnerabilities and application security? Or maybe cryptography really tickles your brain like it does mine, or network security? And then, you know, once you go a little bit further down that path, then choose maybe a certificate or a course, an online program that might be relevant. And by the way, being a generalist, like Hila said, that's a great starting point. A lot of companies are looking for people that are Renaissance people that can do a lot of different things. There's this term called being T-shaped. I don't know if you've never heard that term. So T-shaped, it means like you're like the letter T. You have a lot of things here on the sides, but then there's one area that you kind of dig deeper into. That's like the leg of the T. So do you want to be like a T-shaped person in that sense? Look for the thing that tickles your fancy and then go for that T. That's my recommendation.
Thanks, Keren. Do we have second question there?
Yes, we do. And this is on the aspect of tabletop exercises. So as some of you might be aware, CyberX has been developing a tabletop exercise called Breach the Keep. And they've digitized it now. What do you think is the future of such tabletop exercises, especially exercises that have a narrative that is relatable through entertainment and through mass media? Do you see this as a growing area to learn about cybersecurity? And where do you see this industry going?
Tabletop.
Yeah. So if I would like to answer this. Tabletop is something that is very important phase of getting ready to an incident. This is how I see it. So first, if a company decides that they want to train their management and the technical person of the company, this is the first phase to understand it. Either do it online, either do it on a physical office. It's really a question of possibility. Of course, it's better to do it on physical, in my opinion, but on that in that crisis, we need to do it online. So the important goal of these tabletop exercises is to help the management to feel what is to be in such an incident. They need to think about it. It's not the same thinking about it and being part of a tabletop exercise. It's something really different. It's arriving new questions to the table, and it's triggering process of getting the company ready for such incidents in the future.
I like that point, hack the management. That's excellent, because everything and everyone is hackable, right? And what else as some tabletop exercise like a penetration of management, right? What better can be to test that, how they really are resilient to the real attacks. Anyone else would like to add? Okay, so we have less than a minute left, and any other comments from the audience before we wrap up?
Helen, we do have a couple, but because we're short on time, we'll turn it back to you for some concluding remarks and recommend that folks can ask their questions on siberXchange.ca.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It was a very interesting discussion. You shared so much knowledge. I hope everybody wrote it down. There's a lot of information. It's a global leading cyber ladies. You can find us on siberX, on Twitter, LinkedIn, and everywhere. Keren, Hila, Reut, Sivan, Neetika, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your experience. And thank you, CyberX, for having us today and let us share our insights. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and hack the planet. Woo!
Bye.
Bye.